Next up, Wonder Woman 84 updates. Now, as we've gone through what we've gone through, we know about the pandemic. Everyone's well aware of we're just coming out of quarantine. So you guys be safe out there as always. And Wonder Woman should have come out earlier this year. It was pushed back twice. And it was pushed back, I think, once or twice more before that, because it was supposed to come out last year. Now it's supposed to come out this year, and it's been moved maybe 2 or 3 times. Now its final location is going to be October as opposed to August, which makes sense because they're not trying to release it on digital platforms. They're trying to focus on giving it a theatrical release to make the most out of this than they can. And moving forward, it's going to be quite interesting about where the DC EU will be landing with respect to how that's going to affect when the Snyder Cut drops next year. Then we got more recent updates about the Flash is coming, and also I'm not sure if it's going to be Flash and Cyborg, but Cyborg will be part of his film. So with that being said, there's so much going on around it, but still not enough, which I have to give it respect. Now, there has been leaks of how Cheetah will look. Now, we've seen Cheetah in her, like when she's sexy and sassy. I guess she'll have her power, but she won't go through her transformation. Now, I'm hoping they give her a transformation, the likes of which that would make the people that did the special effects, the practical effects in American Werewolf in London. Now, if they could do a transformation sequence of that caliber, that would be beautiful. And I think we would have gotten something to that effect had the Snyderverse been still in play when that film was going from conception to shot. Because I think that Patty would have bounced more off of Zack Snyder. Or she might have felt like she would have had to because he was kind of the Kevin Feige, the architect, if you will, of the whole cinematic universe in terms of aesthetic and where it came from and how he actually casted Diana Prince. He casted Gal Gadot when everyone else didn't believe in her. After he made his decision, as soon as she showed herself on screen, people felt like even if you hated BVS or not, one of the major saving graces was Wonder Woman, and she was well casted. That being said, we didn't get that much information. I mean, there were leaks. Yes, there were a whole lot of leaks. But one leak came out from a sticker pack was how Cheetah will be looking. And like I said, I would have preferred Cheetah to go into a transformation that would have been akin to American Werewolf in London. But I don't know if they'll go that way because it feels like they're going for a lighter tone. Even though it seems like aesthetically it still could fit in the same universe. But it seems like Patty Jenkins wanted to divorce herself as much from anything that was with Snyder. And I don't know if she did it with malice or she did it more because, like, look, even though he put me on and gave me my first shot at the big leagues, since he was getting so much hate and everyone kept on hating at him in the building, those of which that had power are no longer in power, no longer even in the building. And if there is anyone left over from the old regime, it may be like 1 or 2 people, and their voices are not that strong in the building, at least as of now. That being said, we don't know where she wants this incarnation of Wonder Woman to go. We know she wants to go forward. We know that she wanted to be less muted colors and more vibrant. She wanted to basically, I don't know if she did for more artistic reason or she wanted to placate to the arguments of the anti-Snyder fan base, which I don't really want to get too saturated in this interview, but I think it's relevant enough to touch on to try to posture where she might want to take Wonder Woman 84 now that this was really her baby. I think this was more her baby than the first one. The first one, she needed a lot more assistance because she never did a film like that before to that degree. And I think that was her first film since she did the film Monster that pretty much got Charlize Theron her Oscar. So I think it's going to be interesting, but the picture you see on screen right now is supposed to be Minerva when she becomes Cheetah. It's a distortion. It's not exactly what we're supposed to see, but I'm not sure if we're going to get a practical Cheetah just by looking at it, and it's heavily touched up. And I noticed that DC, some of their promo art, especially of Cyborg, a lot of it looked like it was amateurs. It didn't even look like it was something that you physically pulled and touched up. It looked over-touched. I want to feel like they're there. Even if you see the group picture of them all together, they never took that picture together. These were composite shots, and for me, it was offensively so obviously photoshopped. It felt like it was done by amateurs to a degree, like good amateurs, like good college try, but it didn't feel like, it felt like it was more of a composite rather than it was something that could have been naturally done where the people were there. And even some of the composite shots, it just look overly, certain sections look a little bit more cartoony than they needed to. And I've noticed that with a lot of DC promos. I mean, it's not horrible all the time, but it was something that I've noticed because a lot of the pictures I used to see that everyone was using, I'm like, these are fan posters, right? Like, these aren't, it almost felt like when I started seeing DC people using it, it was like, yo, are you just showing love by using fan art, or this is something that came out of your building? I don't know, for me, maybe because I've done a lot of Photoshop work, it was a tad more jarring. I mean, I'm used to it now, but in the beginning it was a lot more jarring. Not extremely, but enough to say it's kind of offensively jarring, and offensively in the manner of I would have expected so much more. And you could tell that someone did work on it, but that's the problem. It looked like someone heavily worked on it. So it just, like some of the other promo shots, like the Alex Ross, I love those promos. You could tell, now that felt cinematic. You know what I'm saying? But that being said, we're knowing that Wonder Woman is coming this October. They're aiming for the theatrical release so they can garner the best kind of business, and they want her to succeed. They don't want to put her in a bad situation, which is beautiful, because if she was to launch early in the movie season coming out of quarantine, I think it would have affected the box office in such a way that we'd always have to put an asterisk on it. And DC doesn't need any more negative press. They are actually getting a lot more fan love by pivoting back to Snyder in a certain kind of way, which is interesting. But I think it's all about timing, because they pivoted towards the fans when the fans cried about Zack Snyder. The thing I think that WB needs to be is less reactionary, very receptive. So I'm glad that they're receptive and engaging with their fan base, but they need to be a little bit more steadfast, and some principles that you do put up, I think on some level you need to stand behind and see all the way through, because sometimes you guys have a lot more foresight than people give you credit for, because a lot of the ideas that you guys have, it's been said that Marvel mimicked a lot of the concepts that you were going for, in terms of not saying ripping off the whole idea, but whole like script, but just the idea of good guys battling each other. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go into Civil War. because they're going to do BVS. You know what I mean? It's some of the stuff that even DC's done. You'd almost wonder, like, did Marvel kind of even go playing with with time? It just seemed like Marvel was always had an eyebrow up in the air, chin over DC's shoulder, trying to see what they were drawing, to see if they could actually draw upon that to kind of, since they already broken ground and done a lot of stuff, to mine for fresher ideas but put a Marvel stamp onto it, which wouldn't be too far off from what they've been doing in the comics regardless, because you have people from both sides working back and forth, so eventually you was going to get a lot of layover anyway in ideas, thoughts, and concepts. So, but the question is what will Wonder Woman be moving forward? And the only newest updates we have is we got some pictures, we got some still shots, and we got a whole lot of leaks that the trailers are seemingly lending a lot of weight to. The question is now is how it's going to be depicted. And that's really all that matters, because sometimes you can read something off the page, it sounds ridiculous, but it's all about execution. And so far, so good. I love what we're seeing so far. Certain things, riding the lightning, a little weird, but we also know that in recent updates is that Patty Jenkins has a concept for a trilogy. Actually, a trilogy and an Amazon film, which I think will be quite interesting, because you could do a story of the Amazons that you don't even need Diana Prince to be a part of. Like they've been around for centuries. So it'd be a beautiful way to if you can even tell the origins of Themyscira, that would be amazing. And Patty Jenkins also talked about she didn't want to stay in the past. She wants to move forward. And I think she meant that both ways in terms of living in the past of Snyderverse when she first said it, and moving forward. And I think I always felt like Patty Jenkins stood away straight as far away as she could from the Snyderverse information, because I think she sided a little bit more with the fans than Zack Snyder, and I think it would have been hard for her to do that because Zack Snyder stood behind Patty Jenkins, and I don't care what anyone says, I think he assisted her a lot more than she cares to credit, but no one's ever asked her, so I don't think she did it as a slight to him. You know, it just never came up. I just think it was just what directors do. Like, there's things I've heard that certain directors of note been on sets and actually grabbed the camera and shot certain scenes that you would not have known been in another director's movie, but the physical shot was done by a friend of theirs with a high name. I think I've heard Spielberg did something like that for someone and shot a literal scene. Grabbed the camera and did it for a friend. Don't hold me all the way to it, but if I'm not mistaken, he has. And with that being said, I just always felt like there was so much politics went through it. And if you ever could tell, Gal Gadot made sure that she didn't get into the gender stuff. And even Patty Jenkins, no, this is for everyone. Yeah, we're pushing the female empowerment, but we're not doing that basically as a slight to men. This is for everyone. And they're very self-aware of trying to walk that line of not getting caught up in anything that could be of the level of the anti-Captain Marvel shit that was going on. You know what I'm saying? And which is smart, because you're not trying to get yourself engaged into that, into no dramas and nothing. You're just trying to focus on what you're trying to do and keep it pushing. And I think that's the best approach. But this new trilogy now is going to be quite fascinating, because the next one, she wants to set her into the present day, and the question is what kind of day will that be, and how interconnected will it be now that the Snyderverse will seem to live on streaming. And as of now, we have no definites that Henry Cavill will be in the part 2 of Man of Steel. We just know that he signed on to do certain stuff for HBO Max platform, and I believe he will be showing up in another DC. Well, that's the point, to do cameos. But you know what, I'm saying it wrong. The question is will Black Adam appear in Man of Steel 2? Because I think Black Adam is going to take place back in his time. Yeah, actually it will, because it'll be focusing on the Justice Society of America. But that said, man, Patty Jenkins, look forward to see what she got going on. I love the concept of going to the Amazons. She said that she's not behold to direct that one, but she intends on directing Wonder Woman 3, and let's just see how 84 turns out. And I hope it turns out good. I have a feeling, and it's a fear, that it's might not be as good as the first, but I think it'll still be entertaining for me, and that's enough for me. I think it'll still be good. I don't think it'll be as grand, especially now with what's going on. I don't think the money will reciprocate its actual interest. That's the sad part. But we'll see. Leave it in the comments below what you think about the recent updates that's going on with Wonder Woman. Are you happy for another pushback, or you just kind of want to see it come out? Were you hoping that they just drop it already on streaming? Leave it in the comments below.